For 10 long years, Princess Zayari had not walked. She once flew through the crystal gardens of Syraxis, danced in royal halls, and trained with the palace guards. But after the explosion, when the rebels attacked during the Unity Parade, everything changed. Zayari was only 17 when it happened. Her legs were crushed in the attack. Alien doctors from her homeworld tried everything, but no treatment worked. Her legs stayed lifeless. The proud princess was now a prisoner in her own body. In Syraxis, weakness was shame. The royal family never showed pain, so they locked her away in a quiet golden tower, high above the city. Servants came and went. Caretakers changed every few months. No one spoke much. They fed her, dressed her, left her alone. The princess stopped hoping. She stopped dreaming. She only sat by the tall window, watching the skies, wondering what life felt like beyond her glass walls. One morning, something strange happened. A new caretaker arrived, but he wasn't from Syraxis. His skin was pale like moonlight. He had no crown, no marks of status. His hair was short, messy. His hands looked rough. He was human. Zayari blinked. "You're not from here," she said quietly. "No," he said with a smile. "Name's Jace, I fix broken things." Zayari raised an eyebrow. "Do I look like a machine to you?" Jace laughed softly. "Machines break, people get stuck, both can be helped." Zayari was silent for a moment, then she looked away. "I've been stuck for 10 years. Over the next few days, Jace worked. Like the others, cleaning, adjusting her chair, helping her eat. But unlike the others, he talked. He made jokes. He told stories about Earth, about flying cars, robotic arms, even brain-controlled tech. "You humans love to play with machines," Zayari said one day. Jace nodded. "We use tech to give people a second chance. On Earth, a girl like you would be running by now." Zayari's heart thumped. "Don't joke." "I'm not," Jace said. "We've made robotic limbs, even spinal connectors. You're not broken. You've just been abandoned." That night, Zayari couldn't sleep. No one had ever said that to her before. Not broken, just abandoned. Over the next week, Jace began doing something odd. He brought tools to her chamber, wires, metal parts, small machines. He worked late into the night while Zayari watched. "What are you building?" she asked. He looked up and smiled. "Something that will change everything." Zayari narrowed her eyes. "Is it for me?" Jace paused. Then he nodded. "Yes, if you want it." She rolled closer in her chair. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Can I walk again?" Jace didn't answer with words. He simply pressed a button, and 2 shining robotic legs unfolded from a metal case. Sleek, silver, shaped to match her body, not alien tech, human-made. Zayari stared at them like they were magic. "Is it safe?" she asked. "I won't lie," Jace said. "It'll hurt. We'll need to connect nerves. But when it's done, you'll stand again. And walk." Zayari hesitated. "It's forbidden. My people reject outside tech." Jace looked straight into her eyes. "They already threw you away. What else can they take?" Tears welled up in her eyes. She hadn't cried in years, but now, she nodded slowly. "I want to walk." The next day he began the process. He injected nano-connectors near her spine, tiny machines that would link her nerves to the robotic limbs. He strapped her to a surgical bench. As he worked, her body trembled. Sparks of pain ran down her back. She bit her lip hard, but she didn't stop him. Finally, the legs were ready. "Jace," whispered, "try to move." She focused. Nothing. Then, a twitch. Her toes moved. Zayari gasped. Then, her ankle, her knee, her whole leg lifted. She screamed, not in pain, but in shock. "I felt that." "I moved it," Jace grinned. "You're doing it." He helped her sit up. Then, holding her hand, he guided her to the edge of the table. "Ready?" he asked. She nodded, breathing hard. She slid off the table, and for the first time in 10 years, her feet touched the ground, one shaky step then another. Her hands clutched his arms, her knees shook, but she was standing. She was walking. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She laughed through the pain. Outside, storm clouds gathered over the city. High in the palace, cameras blinked red. Someone had seen her standing, someone in power, and they were not pleased. Rain fell hard on the towers of Syraxis. In the dark, glowing skies, thunder cracked like warning drums. Sayari stood in the center of her chamber on her own two legs. Her heart raced. Her hands trembled, but her legs held her up. The robotic limbs hummed softly, pulsing with quiet energy. Human-made, illegal, alive. Behind her, Jace stared at the scanner screen. His jaw tightened. "They saw us," he said quietly. Sayari turned slowly. "Who?" "The royal security grid. Your palace has full surveillance. Someone is watching." Fear crawled down her spine. Her people feared change. They feared outside tech. Her using human machinery wasn't just against the law, it was seen as betrayal. "They'll come," she whispered. "They will." Jace nodded. "We need to move fast." Sayari clenched her fists. "Then finish the upgrades. I want full control of my legs before they arrive." For the next 3 hours, the princess and the human worked in silence. Wires were embedded deeper into her spine. Energy nodes were placed under her skin. Jace connected a stabilizer disc behind her neck, a neural bridge. If it worked, her thoughts would fully control the robotic limbs faster, sharper, stronger than natural legs. "You'll be faster than a normal Syraxian," Jace whispered as he worked. "More balanced, stronger," Sayari chuckled. "A queen, made of steel." "No," he replied. "A queen who refused to stay broken." By sunrise, the upgrade was done. Sayari stood in the middle of the room again. But now, her movement was smoother, like water. She took a step forward. Then she spun, jumped, and landed without shaking. Jace clapped, laughing. "You were made for this." But suddenly, a loud alarm blared from the palace tower. Sayari froze. "Security is here," Jace said, running to the window. 2 hoverships, armed guards. "I'm not hiding," Sayari said, stepping forward. "I won't crawl back into that chair." "Then prepare to face them. This isn't just about legs anymore, this is a revolution." Minutes later, the chamber doors opened with a loud hiss. 10 armored guards entered, tall, cold-faced, weapons ready, and behind them, High Advisor Krell, her father's most trusted ally. His face was sharp, his voice sharper. "Princess Sayari," he said, not bowing. "You stand against the laws of Syraxis. Explain yourself." "I stand," she replied, stepping toward him. "That is my explanation." Gasps filled the room. The guards shifted nervously. No one had seen her walk in 10 years. Krell scowled. "What you wear is foreign poison, human corruption. The council forbids it." Sayari tilted her head. "The council left me in a chair for a decade. A human gave me legs." Krell pointed at Jace. "Then he is guilty of technological terrorism. The punishment is death." "No." Sayari stepped between them. "If you want to take him, you must go through me." The guards raised their rifles. Sayari's eyes narrowed. Her legs shifted. Faster, then a blink. Her stance became firm, balanced, warrior-like. "You will not cage me again," she said coldly. Krell raised his hand, and the guard stopped. "You want war?" he said. "So be it." He turned away. "Seal this tower. No one leaves. No one enters. She is no longer a princess." The guards left, sealing the doors behind them. A force field hummed to life, trapping Sayari and Jace inside. Silence fell. Jace spoke first. "We're prisoners." "No," Sayari said. "We're rebels." Now she looked down at her metal feet. "These legs are my freedom, but maybe they're also the spark of something bigger." Jace grinned. "You're thinking revolution?" Sayari smiled back. "I'm thinking evolution." Outside, the city buzzed with rumors. Whispers of the broken princess walking again. Of human tech. Of rebellion. Inside the sealed tower, Sayari walked to the window. no longer watching the world in silence. This time, the world was watching her. The tower was silent, but Zayari could feel the city holding its breath. She stood at the window, robotic legs humming quietly beneath her royal robe. Behind her, Jace worked on something small and metallic. A signal jammer. They cut off power. Last night, he muttered. And now, communication too. Zayari didn't respond. Her eyes were locked on the far towers of the palace. Lights were blinking in a strange pattern. Not decoration, not ceremony. A warning. They're preparing to erase us, she said softly. Jace looked up. You mean arrest? She turned. No. Syraxis doesn't arrest people like me. They erase them. Quietly. No trial. No voice. No goodbye. Suddenly, a low vibration moved through the tower floor. A pulse. Almost like a heartbeat. Jace stood up fast. That's not just energy fluctuation. That's a lockdown pulse. Zayari's eyes widened. They're sealing off this section permanently. With us inside. He rushed to the control panel near the wall. The lights blinked red. Security code denied. Zayari clenched her fists. They want to bury me alive. No, Jace said, pulling out a small cube. Not if I can break us out first. The next hour was tense. Jace connected wires, redirected power, and tried hacking the security field. Meanwhile, Zayari tested her upgraded legs again. She needed to be faster, stronger, ready. Suddenly, a voice echoed in the chamber. Zayari of House Velthar, you are no longer recognized as royalty. Your presence is a threat to planetary unity. Surrender now, or face final judgment. It wasn't a live voice. It was a recorded command from the High Council. Zayari stared at the ceiling, voice steady. They fear me now. Jace looked at her. Not just you, what you represent. You walked, and it broke their lie. A small explosion popped from the corner. Jace shouted, Done! Force fields down, but only for 3 minutes. Zayari ran, not walked, ran. The new legs responded perfectly. No delay, no pain. The floor under her feet thudded with power as she sprinted through the golden hallway. The princess was free, but only for now. As they reached the outer stairwell, the lights flickered. Emergency power was failing. Where are we going? Zayari asked, breathing hard. There's an old passage under the archives, Jace said. I studied blueprints. It leads outside the inner palace. They raced through the narrow corridors, twisting past old statues and forgotten chambers. Every sound echoed. Every shadow looked like a soldier. Then, without warning, a shape stepped out of the dark. Tall, cloaked, glowing eyes. Zayari skidded to a stop. The figure spoke. You walk with stolen limbs. The council demands your obedience. Zayari stepped forward. Then the council can speak to my feet. With a blur of motion, she launched herself at the figure. A kick slammed into the stranger's chest, sending them crashing into a wall. Zayari blinked. She hadn't expected to be that strong. Whoa, Jace muttered. You're enhanced. I noticed. They ran again. But now every hallway seemed alive with shadows. Drones buzzed past, voices called through the walls. The system had fully awakened. At last they reached the archive basement. Jace pulled a hidden panel. Stone moved. A tunnel opened. Old and dusty. They slipped inside just as the alarm roared louder behind them. In the dark, Zayari whispered, What happens if they catch us now? Jace looked at her, serious. You'll lose more than your legs this time. She touched the side of her robotic knee. Then I'll keep running. He smiled. They moved down the tunnel. Every step took them farther from the only life Zayari had known. But also, closer to something new. After what felt like hours, a light appeared at the tunnel's end, the secret exit. They stepped out into a quiet marketplace, long abandoned after the war. Ruined buildings, empty streets, Sky above, open and wide. Zayari took a deep breath of fresh air. For the first time in years, she wasn't trapped. She was outside, standing, alive. Jace looked at her. Now what? Zayari looked toward the stars. Her voice was soft but firm. I learned to run. High above, in the control towers of Syraxis, the council watched the footage. One elder whispered, "She should have died long ago." Another said, "The people will find out. The humans will hear." The High Advisor said nothing. He simply stared at the screen, at the princess who had broken the system. "She must not become a symbol," he said coldly. "Send the hunter." The stars were still above the ruined market, but Zayari couldn't enjoy the view. She knew now. She was marked, not just as a rebel, not just as a lawbreaker, but as a spark. Something had changed. Deep inside her, her legs weren't just machines. They were freedom, and freedom had a cost. Jace was silent as they moved through the rubble. His scanner blinked red. "Multiple ships," he said. "Descending, fast." "How many?" "3. One of them is hers." Zayari felt her throat tighten. "The hunter?" He nodded grimly. Kael Rin. That name once shook battlefields. Kael Rin wasn't just a bounty hunter. She was a council weapon. A silent ghost with no mercy, no failure. Half machine, half myth. No one had ever escaped her, not even kings. "She won't try to arrest us," Zayari whispered. "She'll erase us." They ran through the shadows of the broken city. Zayari's robotic legs gave her speed Jace couldn't match, but she never left him behind. "Where do we go?" she asked. "I sent a signal before we left the tower. There's a resistance cell, small, hidden. They believe in off-world tech, in change." Zayari raised an eyebrow. "You didn't tell me that before." Jace smirked. "Didn't want to scare you. I just kicked a council agent through a wall. Try me." Suddenly, a strange sound cut the air, like metal scraping across glass. Zayari stopped cold. Jace whispered, "She's here." They turned the corner and saw her. Kael Rin stood in the center of the ruined plaza, not moving. She wore no armor, just a simple black suit. Her eyes glowed red. Her arms were crossed, but behind her floated 2 silent drones, each armed with plasma spikes. "Zayari of House Velthar," Kael Rin said without emotion. "You are infected with foreign augmentation. Surrender." Zayari stepped forward slowly. "And if I refuse? Then your evolution ends here." Without warning, Kael Rin moved, faster than thought. A plasma blade flashed, aimed straight at Zayari's neck. But this time, Zayari moved faster. Her legs reacted before her brain finished the command. She ducked, rolled, and countered with a spinning kick. The impact shocked them both. Kael Rin flew back and slammed into a stone wall. Jace stared. "You hurt her." "No," Zayari said. "I matched her." Kael Rin stood slowly. Her face was unreadable, but her next move came with force. Now the real fight began. Zayari ran, not to escape, but to strike. Her legs launched her through the air. She dodged one drone, twisted midair, and smashed the second with her knee. The explosion lit up the night. Kael Rin came again, silent, deadly. The 2 women clashed under the stars, blow for blow, kick for block. Sparks flew with every strike. Zayari's robotic legs adjusted to every move, learning, growing. Jace watched from the rubble, stunned. "She's not just fighting back," he whispered. "She's evolving." But Kael Rin was relentless. A blade sliced Zayari's shoulder. Pain exploded through her arm, but she didn't fall. "Your strength is artificial," Kael Rin said. "No," Zayari growled. "It's earned." She grabbed the bounty hunter by the arm, twisted and flipped her over. Kael Rin crashed hard. Zayari stood over her. "Why do you obey a council that left me to rot?" Kael Rin, still on the ground, replied, "Because I have nothing else." Zayari hesitated. That single sentence wasn't victory. It was a mirror. She turned to Jace. We need to go." "But you beat her?" "No," she said softly. "I survived her. There's a difference." She looked down at Kaelrin, who made no move to rise. "You don't have to follow them," Zayari said. "You can choose." Kaelrin looked away. "Maybe next time." They left the plaza just as more ships arrived overhead. But this time the council didn't send soldiers. They sent cameras and broadcasts and headlines. Because something had changed. The broken princess had defeated death. And now all of Syraxis was watching. Deep in the mountains, the resistance base welcomed Zayari like a myth. But she made one thing clear. "I'm not your hero," she told them. "I'm your warning. Your system is rotting and I'm done living quietly." Jace placed a hand on her shoulder. "You were born into a cage. You turned it into a war cry." She looked at him. "This isn't about my legs anymore. This is about everyone they tried to silence." And far above, the High Council met again. "She beat Kaelrin," one elder said. "No," said the High Advisor. "She converted her." They all turned. "What now?" The advisor didn't blink. "Now, we burn the myth, or it burns us." The cold metal walls of the resistance base shook with energy. Outside night had fallen, but Syraxis did not sleep. Across the planet, people whispered the same name, Zayari, the princess who walked again, the one who defied the council, the one who defeated the hunter. But inside the base, she wasn't celebrating. She was planning an escape. "Every sensor shows council ships gathering," Jace said, pacing beside a holographic map. "They're forming a blockade, not just around this base, around the whole continent." Zayari stood near the edge of the war table, her mechanical fingers tracing the stars glowing on the surface. "So they're scared," she said calmly. "They should be," a resistance commander added. "You've become more than a rebel. You're a symbol. People are rising up. Because of you." Zayari didn't smile. "Symbols get crushed first." Suddenly, a voice echoed through the bases. "Speakers. Incoming transmission. Priority 1. Everyone froze. A face appeared on the central screen. Wrinkled, cold, with eyes like polished ice. The High Advisor. "Zayari Velthar," the voice said. "You have 24 hours to surrender. If you do, the human will live. If not, your name will be wiped from history." Gasps filled the room. Zayari stepped forward. "He's bluffing." But Jace didn't speak. He knew better. Zayari turned to him. "We're leaving." The commander shook his head. "No ship can get past the orbital fence. Every hangar is watched." Zayari's eyes lit up. "Not every ship." 30 minutes later, deep in the lowest level of the base, Jace stared at the strangest thing he had ever seen. A living spacecraft. Its surface pulsed like skin. Its frame curved like bone. It wasn't built. It had grown. Zayari touched it gently. "It's ancient, grown by an extinct race, banned by the council because it doesn't need fuel. It listens. It chooses its pilot." Jace laughed nervously. "Please tell me you're that pilot." She stepped forward. The ship responded, opening, like a blooming flower. "I guess I am now," she said. Minutes later, alarms sounded across the base. Enemy ships, approaching fast. Zayari and Jace rushed into the living vessel. Its cockpit wrapped around her like armor. Lights glowed along her arms and legs, syncing with her mechanical limbs. Jace buckled into the co-pilot seat. "Tell me it flies." "It doesn't fly," Zayari whispered. "It runs through space." The ship pulsed, and then it launched. The council fleet didn't expect something so fast. The living ship weaved between enemy fire, dodging beams of plasma and bursts of energy. It didn't just move, it danced. Zayari's mind was fully connected. Every blink, every breath, the ship responded instantly. Jace shouted, "They're locking a missile net." Zayari narrowed her eyes. "Then we break it." She dove, straight, into the storm. Enemy commanders screamed across open channels, "This isn't possible." She's outmaneuvering us with human tech. She's heading for the exo-ring gate. Stop her now. But it was too late. With a burst of speed and starlight, the living ship broke through the blockade. It disappeared into hyperspace, leaving nothing but fire and silence behind. Inside the ship, everything went still. Jace stared at her. You just made history. Sayari didn't answer right away. She stared out the window, watching stars swirl like rivers of light. History tried to bury me. I just dug my way out. Jace leaned back, still catching his breath. Where to now? Sayari's voice was firm. To every planet the Council thinks it controls. Back on Syraxis, the High Advisor stood in silence. The Council was in chaos. Protests rose across the cities. The name Sayari had become a chant of hope and rebellion. She escaped, a general said, and the people are rising. The High Advisor's voice was cold. She made herself a legend, so now we kill the legend. How? The advisor turned to the shadows, and from the dark, a voice spoke. I know where she's going. Kaelrin stepped into the light. Armor, cracked eyes dim but alive. She didn't kill me, that was her mistake. The stars twisted. The living ship cut through hyperspace like a blade through silk, but something felt wrong. Sayari gripped the controls. Her robotic legs trembled, not from fear, but from warning. The ship's lights pulsed red. Jace looked at the screen. Something's chasing us. Sayari narrowed her eyes. No, something's inside. In the center of the control room, black mist began to rise from the ship's walls. The living metal screamed, not with sound but through pressure, through pain, through pulses in their bones. What is this? Jace shouted, backing away. Sayari's breath caught. It's infected. Council tech. It found us. The High Council had done the unthinkable, embedded a tracking virus inside her escape. The ship lurched. Sparks flew. The stars outside shattered into static. Hold on, Sayari screamed. Then, crash. The world spun. When Sayari opened her eyes, the sky was black. Too black. Her head ached. Her robotic legs sparked. Jace, she croaked. No answer. She turned, slowly, and found him unconscious, blood trickling from his head, still strapped to the co-pilot seat. She unbuckled herself. Her knees gave out. Her legs were damaged, not useless, but weak, unstable. She crawled to Jace, checked his pulse. Alive, but barely. Then she looked outside. The ship had crashed on a cold, dead moon, gray dust, jagged rocks, no life, no light, no help. She dragged Jace out of the ship. Her arms burned, her spine ached, the air was thin, breathing hurt. But she didn't stop. She pulled him to the only shelter she could find, a jagged cliff edge that opened into a cave. Then, she collapsed beside him and cried. For the first time since she walked again, she felt helpless. Time passed. She didn't know how long. But eventually Jace stirred. His voice was weak. Are we dead? Sayari laughed bitterly. No, just close. He tried to sit up but groaned in pain. What happened? They hacked the ship, she said, forced us down. He looked at her legs, damaged, flickering. Can you walk? Sayari looked at him. Then slowly, she stood. 1 step. Then 2. Her balance was broken, but she was still on her feet. I can walk, she said. Not well, but I can. They explored the cave slowly. To their surprise, it wasn't empty. Inside they found ruins, ancient structures, alien writings on the walls, dead machines, silent chambers. This place is old, Jace whispered. Really old. Sayari ran her fingers along the stone. Maybe it was a city once, or a sanctuary. At the end of the cave, they found something strange, a dark pedestal, covered in dust, but glowing faintly with energy, and floating above it was a core, mechanical, organic, alive. Zayari's eyes widened. It's a heart of a living ship. Jace nodded slowly. We crashed here for a reason. She reached out. The heart pulsed. Her robotic legs lit up. Her spine shivered. Her arms tingled. The core connected to her tech, automatically. Suddenly she saw everything. A map of the system. The ship's memory, the virus inside it, and more. Plans, designs, upgrades. This, Dead Moon, wasn't dead. It was waiting for her. Outside, thunder cracked in the sky, but it wasn't thunder, it was arrival. A black ship landed on the far end of the moon, its engines silent, its shape sharp. Zayari's breath froze. Jace stared. That's not Council tech. Zayari nodded slowly. No, it's hers. From the black ship stepped a single figure, Kael Rin, scarred, cold, alive. She walked toward the cave with no fear, no rush, because she knew. Zayari couldn't run this time. Zayari stood at the mouth of the cave, broken legs, empty hands, but eyes full of fire. She followed us. Jace stood beside her. Can you fight like this? Zayari looked down at her damaged limbs, then up at the stars. No, but I can survive. She turned back toward the ancient heart and whispered to it, Help me evolve. The ancient heart pulsed in Zayari's hands. She stood in silence, her damaged legs shaking beneath her, as the energy from the alien core flowed into her body. The cave lit up with soft blue light. Patterns on the walls began to glow. Symbols, long forgotten, awakened. Jace, still wounded, sat against the stone. What's happening? Zayari didn't answer. Her mind was somewhere else. Inside the core, she saw visions, not just of the past, but of what could be, of a body not built to walk, but to lead. She saw herself, not as a lost princess, not as a broken girl, but as something new, a warrior. Outside the cave, footsteps echoed against the rock. Kael Rin was near. The hunter had come to finish the eye. Zayari stepped forward, her voice steady. Accept the link, she whispered to the heart. The core floated down, touched her chest, and entered her. Pain shot through her spine. Her limbs went numb. She collapsed. Jace shouted, Zayari! But then, her eyes opened, and they were glowing. The robotic legs restructured themselves. The damaged metal shifted. New material grew from within, formed by the alien tech shaped by Zayari's will. Her arms lit up. Her spine straightened. Her body was no longer part princess, part machine. She was reborn, not human. Not alien, something greater. She stood tall, energy flowing like wind around her. Jace stared. You're glowing. Zayari smiled. I feel alive. Then Kael Rin stepped into the cave. No words, no warnings. She raised her arm and fired. Blast of plasma tore through the air. Zayari moved. She didn't run. She vanished and appeared behind Kael Rin in a blur of motion. A pulse strike knocked the weapon from the hunter's hand. Kael Rin turned, stunned. You've become one of them. No, Zayari replied. I've become myself. The fight that followed was not a battle. It was a storm. Zayari no longer fought with fear. She moved with purpose. Each strike echoed like thunder. Kael Rin was powerful, but Zayari was evolving in real time. Her body adjusted to every move. Her eyes scanned. Her legs adapted. Her heart beat like the ancient core. Kael Rin tried to grab. Pin her. End it. Zayari let her. And then she activated the core inside her chest. A burst of light exploded from her body, throwing Kael Rin across the chamber. The hunter groaned. Her armor cracked, her breathing heavy. Zayari walked slowly toward her fallen enemy. Kael Rin looked up. Do it. Finish me. Zayari shook her head. I didn't come to destroy you. I came to end what broke both of us. She held out her hand. I'm giving you a choice. The same one I gave myself. Kyle stared at the hand for a long moment, then, slowly, took it. Together, they left the cave. Together, they climbed back to the surface of the dead moon. Jace limped behind them, half laughing, half confused. Did we just win? Zayari looked up at the stars. No, not yet. But we started something. Days later, across the systems, the message came, Zayari is alive. The princess walks. The hunter stood beside her. Change is coming. The council tried to shut it down. They banned broadcasts. They sent ships. But planets began to rise. On Earth, a group of engineers formed the Unity Project, inspired by the girl who defied her fate. On the mining moons, workers walked off their shifts, chanting her name. On Syraxis, statues of old kings were pulled down. Zayari had become more than a rebel. She was hope. 1 year later, a new ship drifted in orbit, not grown, not stolen, built, by humans and aliens together. At its helm stood Zayari, armor forged from the ruins of war, powered by the ancient core, her voice steady and clear. To those still hiding in silence, rise. To those still waiting for permission, move. To those told they are broken, you are not. I was born in a cage, I now fly free, and I'm not coming back alone.